Golden Valley, Arizona. A place so quiet, you can hear the wind brush against cactus thorns and the gravel settle beneath your shoes. On most days, this place feels forgotten by time. But on the morning of September 24th, 2023, it became unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. She was called the Dog Lady. To some, she was a savior. To others, a mystery. But to 17 broken, abused, abandoned animals, she was everything. Margaret Lewis lived her life trying to undo the damage others had done. She gave them names, love, safety. And in the end, they killed her. Mauled. Mutilated. Partially consumed. A woman who only ever gave, torn apart by the lives she fought to save. How does a rescue turn into a death sentence? How does compassion become a cage? Welcome to the channel where we explore true stories that demand to be heard, stories that blur the lines between heroism, heartbreak, and horror.
Subscribe now.
Because what happened to Margaret Lewis isn't just shocking, it's a warning. Let's begin. For over 12 years, Margaret Lewis lived on a dusty corner lot off North Lomita Street in Mojave County, Arizona. She was 70 years old, a retired social worker, widowed, quiet, and mostly kept to herself. But behind her modest trailer and sun-faded fence lived a world she had built with her own hands. 17 dogs, each one unwanted, forgotten, or deemed too dangerous to be rehomed. She fed them, slept near them, cared for them like family. Every dog had a story, some abandoned at gas stations, others pulled from the desert, half dead. German Shepherd mixes, pit bulls, huskies with scars. Animals hardened by a life of survival. Where others saw threats, Margaret saw hope. And slowly, her home became a sanctuary. She was always walking with dogs, a neighbor recalled. Every morning, rain or shine, like a little parade. Bowls of water under mesquite trees. Blankets laid out in crates. Scraps saved from her own dinner. To Margaret, it wasn't charity.
It was
justice. But justice, when carried alone, comes at a cost. By 2022, Margaret's peaceful sanctuary had begun to fracture. The fencing was patchwork, old chain link, twisted wire, mesh held by zip ties. There were no kennels.
No partitions.
Just open desert and chaos. The dogs began fighting. Not every day, but often enough that neighbors noticed. People started whispering. There's too many. They're getting wild. She's in over her head. Mail carriers refused to step past the gate. Children crossed the street to avoid walking by. Margaret brushed it all off. They're healing, she'd say with a tired smile. They've just been through a lot. Her arms told a different story. Scratches, bruises, bite marks. She called them accidents, training setbacks, rough housing. But a pack of traumatized animals, given total freedom and no structure, doesn't roughhouse. They assert dominance. They challenge leadership. And eventually they choose a new alpha. In the last 18 months of Margaret's life, local authorities had responded to 8 calls about her property. Barking at all hours. Dogs escaping. Aggression toward neighbors. One delivery driver was bitten while leaving a package. Another had his pants torn. A deputy once wrote in his report, "This situation is unstable." Resident appears overwhelmed, but refuses assistance. When they urged her to surrender some dogs, she stood firm. "I made them a promise," she said. "They were thrown away once. I won't do it again." That kind of devotion is rare. But so is that kind of danger. A former friend offered to take in 2 of the more violent dogs. Margaret refused. They need each other, she insisted. Separating them would make them worse. But worse was already here. Fights in the yard. Shouting from the house at night. Shadows pacing by the windows. She wasn't running a rescue anymore. She was trying to survive one. It was a Sunday morning, September 24th, 2023. The air was dry and already hot before 8 a.m. Margaret stepped outside holding a plastic feed bucket filled with kibble and leftovers from dinner. The dogs were already circling, restless,
loud, hungry.
She had done this every morning for 12 years. But this time something changed. By 8:30 a.m., the noise had vanished. No barking, no movement, just silence. At 11:03 a.m., a neighbor called the sheriff. Her gate's open. Her truck's still there. But I haven't seen Margaret. Something's not right. Deputies arrived minutes later. The first thing they saw wasn't her, it was them.
Dogs.
Large, scarred, bloodied. Some panting, others frozen. A trail of paw prints led to the back. And there in the dirt was Margaret Lewis. Face down. Torn open. Her left leg was shredded. Her shirt ripped from her back. Her hands bloodied. The feed bucket lay tipped beside her. She had tried to crawl. Drag marks in the dirt. Cracked fingernails. Claw marks across her spine. She hadn't died instantly. She had felt every second. Animal control was called in immediately. Several dogs lunged at officers. Some had to be euthanized on the spot. Others were sedated and crated, their eyes wild, confused, almost hollow. 15 dogs remained on the property that day. Not one barked. Not one wagged a tail. They circled the spot where she fell, lips pulled back, blood in their fur. Not all of it hers. Some had wounds from fighting each other. Others bore no marks at all, as if they had simply watched it happen. By afternoon, the story had already reached every news outlet in Arizona. Local woman killed by her own rescue dogs. But headlines can't hold grief. Margaret hadn't died a tragic death. She had died an unthinkable one, torn apart by the very lives she refused to give up on. And the question rang louder than ever. Was this preventable? The autopsy confirmed the worst. Defensive wounds to her hands and arms. Fatal blood loss. No drugs. No foul play. No heart attack. Just dogs. Just love gone too far. Experts began weighing in. These dogs weren't evil, one behaviorist said. They were survivors. Reactive. Under-socialized. Pushed past the edge. Without structure, a pack makes its own rules. Dominance replaces discipline. And the weakest member, regardless of love, is seen as prey. Margaret wasn't their owner anymore. She was just another figure in the pack, one who had lost control. Today, the wind still moves through the yard at 53,000 North Lameda Street. The bowls are empty. The gate swings slowly in the breeze. And a single bouquet of silk flowers fades in the sun, tied gently to the fence. Margaret Lewis died doing what she believed in, loving the unloved. But love without boundaries, without help, without structure, can become something else entirely. Compassion should not cost your life. If you or someone you know is overwhelmed by rescue work, reach out.
Support them.
Intervene. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones hiding just how broken they feel. And sometimes the animals we save are the ones that destroy us. Margaret gave them everything. And they took the only thing she had left. Her life. If this story struck a chord with you, don't scroll past. Like this video, so others hear her name. Share it to raise awareness. And subscribe to our channel for more true life stories that need to be told. Thank you for watching. This was the story of Margaret Lewis, the woman who gave until she had nothing left to give.